Okay, this is lesson 3.1 of comparing and scaling. This time we are talking about rate tables. So the know is how to use a rate table. To show that, we are going to complete a rate table about calculators. So rate table, rate table, rate table. Guess what this lesson is about? So here's the story behind this lesson. Your math teacher is looking into buying a set of calculators for your class. Below are the prices he found to buy different kinds of calculators. So calculators for school, we have fraction calculators, $120 for 20 of them. Scientific calculators, $240 for 15 of them. And graphing calculators, $800 for 10 of them. Part A, complete the table below using the given information. So this is a rate table. We also had one back in the last lesson with the chimpanzees and such. So it's not much different. So we have the price of calculators for schools, number purchased, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 20. And fraction calculators, scientific calculators, graphing calculators. Notice hardly any of it is filled in. What is filled in is the information from up here. So fraction is 120 for 20. 120 for 20. Scientific, 240 for 15, 240 for 15, and you can see how it goes from there. So here's what we want to figure out. In order to fill all the rest of this in, we want to know how much one calculator costs for each one. So what we need to do is divide 120 divided by 20. 240 divided by 15, 800 divided by 10. So let's start. 120 divided by 20 equals 6. So those are $6 per calculator. So I'm going to put a 6 there. Scientific calculators are $240 for 15. So 240 divided by 15. Not one I can do in my head. So I'm going to do it up here. 240 divided by 15 does not go into 2, it goes into 24 once. Subtract, I get 9, 0. 15 goes into 90 6 times, which is 90. No remainder, so those are $16 each. And graphing calculators, 800 divided by 10. Divide anything by 10, you just get rid of 0, so those are $80 each, so much more expensive. So 6, 16, and 80. So fraction calculators counts it by 6 until it jumps. Notice it jumps a few times. So 12, 18, 24, 30. Scientific calculators counts by 16. A little bit harder to do. 32, 48, 64, and 80. Yeah, 80. Second guessed myself there for a second. Graphing calculators counts by 80, so really it's just counting by 8 with an extra 0. So 160, 240, 320, 400. Now we have to fill in those gaps. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaps to fill in. So we have 6 multiplications to do. Let's do fraction calculators first. First one up is 10 times 6, which is just 60. And then 15 times 6, which is a little bit different. 15 times 6 is 90. And then 120. So fraction calculators is filled in. Scientific calculators, we have 10 times 16 is 160. And 20 times 16, well, 2 times 16 is 32, so 320. And last but not least, graphing calculators. So 80 times 15, that's not one I can do in my head. 80, 15, multiply, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 8 is 40, 0, 0, 8, $1,200. 1, 2, 0, 0, and put that there just to keep up. And then the last one, 80 times 20, well, it's 16 with 2 zeros, so 1,600. So that is how you fill in a rate table. You use some multiplication, you count by some patterns. Just know that every time it jumps, you have to multiply. All right, let's answer some questions about these calculators. Part B, how much does it cost to buy the following number and types of calculators? 53 fraction, 27 scientific, and 9 graphing. Well, remember, all we have to do is multiply. A fraction is $6 each. So, 53 times 6. 6 times 3 is 18, carry the 1. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. So $318. Easy enough. Scientific calculators are $16 each, so 27 times 16. 6 times 7 is 42. Carry the 4. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. 1 times 7 is 7. 1 times 2 is 2. Add up our answers. We get 2, 3, carry the 1, 432. If I make a slight miscalculation, obviously you can't correct a video. Just know that's just a slight calculation. The most important part first is doing the steps and then your computation. Last up is graphing. They were $80 each, so 80 times 9. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 8 is 72. So it is $720 to buy 9 graphing. Multiply, multiply, multiply. C, how many of each calculator can you buy for $390? So instead of multiplying, now we're going to divide. So it's $390 first, divided by 6. Second, divide by 16. And third, divide by 80. Now I probably didn't leave myself enough room. That wasn't very smart. So I'll just maneuver it as I need to. 6 does not go into 3. 6 goes into 39 6 times, which is 36. Subtract. I get a 3. Bring down the 0. 6 goes into 35 times. No remainder. So 65 fraction calculators. I'm going to move this over so I can still do my math. 390 divided by 16 this time. Does not go into 3. Goes into 39 twice, which is 32. 39 minus 32 is 7. Bring down a 0. Now we have 70. I don't know off the top of my head how many times that goes in, so 60, 32, 48, 64, 80. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times, which is 64, which is the remainder of 6. I could bring down a 0, but in the context of this problem, a decimal of a calculator doesn't make sense, so I can round it to 24. So 24 scientific calculators. Last but not least, sorry, that was a bell going off. Last but not least, we have graphing calculators. Does not go into 3, does not go into 39, goes into 390 4 times, which is 320, which is $70 left. Almost enough to buy another one, but almost is not enough. You need more, so that does not work. So 65, 24, and 4, all for the same amount of money. So part D, write an equation for each kind of calculator to find the price for any number ordered. Now, this is my first video since we rearranged some of our curriculum, and I'm realizing that if you're in my actual math class, you have not learned how to write an equation yet. So what I would suggest is to go to the variables and patterns set of videos and watch the videos that talk about writing equations. Otherwise, we're not going to cover this in class, but I'm still going to cover it on the video since it's already created. So, the fraction calculator, what we do is we multiply by 6 every time. So the cost for every fraction calculator is 6 times the number we want. So C equals 6 times N. The cost for a scientific calculator is 16 times the number we want, and the cost for a graphing calculator is 80 times the number we want. Notice they're the same exact equation on each one, except for the number changes to how much each individual calculator costs. Alright, let's move on to some practice problems. Sarah can drive her car 580 miles, that's important, at a steady speed using 20 gallons of gasoline. Obviously that's important. Complete the rate table below, showing the number of miles her car can be driven at the speed. I didn't give you a rate table, so we're going to create one. Rate table is just like a regular table. Up top, I'm going to have oh, I see what's missing. We need how many miles per gallon. So what we need to do is take 580, divide it by 20. 20 does not go into 5, goes into 58 twice, which is 40. Subtract, we get 18, bring down to 0. Goes into 189 times, which is 180. Subtract, no remainder, so it's 29 miles per gallon. So I have gallons and I have miles. For every gallon, she can drive 29 miles. So we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and count up by 29. So 29, 58. Up here, I'll do 58 plus 29 is 87. Plus 29 is 116. Plus 29 is 145. And plus 29 is 174. So there's a rate table. Apologize, it says complete the rate table. I did not give you one to complete. So, number 2, Joel can drive his car 450 miles at a steady speed using 15 gallons of gasoline. We're going to do the same exact thing. 450 divided by 15. 15 does not go into 4, it goes into 45 3 times. That is 45. Subtract, we get no remainder. So our answer is 30. So 30 miles per gallon. I'm going to make a table that's the same size. So gallons, miles, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one's a little bit easier. We're counting by 30. So it's 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, 180. So that's close enough since it did not actually give you a rate table to complete. Last but not least, number 3, Frankie's Trail Mix Factory gives customers the following information about its health facts. Caloric content of Frankie's Trail Mix. If you have no idea what that means, it's okay. Numbers are more important than what it means if you don't understand the language. Grams of trail mix and calories. We have 50, 150, 150, 450, and goes up from there. Point A. Fiona eats 75 grams of trail mix. How many calories does she eat? Well, 75 is not included in here. So what we need to figure out is how many calories for every gram of trail mix. So I'm going to do 150 divided by 50. 50 does not go into 1. It does not go into 15. It goes into 150 3 times with no remainder. So for every 1, I'm going to make a note, it's 3 calories. So 75 times 3 is 225. So 225 calories. Notice that multiplication once we have how much calories 1 gram is. B. Rico eats trail mix containing 1,000 calories. How many grams of trail mix does he eat? Well, if we know it's 3 calories per gram, I'm going to take 1,000 and divide it by 3. Does not go into 1, it goes into 10 3 times, which is 9. Subtract, I get a 1 remainder, bring down a 0. Well, 10 again, so another 3, 9, bring it down, and 1 remainder. So obviously it's going to be 3's repeating. So 333.3 repeating grams. Write an equation that you can use to find the number of calories in any number of grams of trail mix. So calories, we know, is 3 times the number of grams. So that's all our equation is. Write an equation that you can use to find the number of grams of trail mix that will provide any given number of calories. So we know from here that we took the calories and divided by 3. So calories divided by 3 equals the number of grams of trail mix. Once again, if you're unfamiliar with the equations, you can just ignore that part. Otherwise, check in on it. Let's go ahead and go back through the video and double check that we filled everything in correctly. This was lesson 3.1, talking about rate tables out of comparing and scaling. We talked about and filled in the rate table for the number of calculators. We calculated some information about the calculators, not even using a calculator. The practice problems had you build rate tables and calculate miles per gallon. And lastly, we talked about the calories inside food. So this is the end of lesson 3.1. Up next is lesson 3.2 of comparing and scaling.